Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Jeffrey Zell here. Um, I've had some questionnaires sent to me recently, and I wanted to share the questions and responses with you all because you're the voter, and the attempt is to persuade you that each candidate has a broad understanding of the issues and solutions to those problems. And so I want to share some of my thoughts. So I'm just going to read off the questions and then end my thoughts. All right. So the first question in this questionnaire was from your viewpoint, either as incumbent or challenger, please comment on your assessment of the recent performance of the school board. And my answer is the recent performance of the school board is in line with most public schools statewide and nationally, which is substandard. With the cost per student of averaging about around 10,000 annually in Sumter County and rising, um, we've got to do better. Of the 82 public school districts in South Carolina, Sumter ranks 62nd in third grade English language arts, with 26% of third graders reading at level or comprehending at level, and 75th in eighth grade math, and only 14% of those eighth graders are at level. The district boasts 80% graduation rate, but of those 80% who graduate, only 39% of them are ready for basic 101 level college courses. And most require educational remediation before they can take any accredited courses, any placement courses. Furthermore, of all graduating students, only 29% are considered career ready. That is a big problem that we have to address. And we can get into the solutions later. Question 2. As the incumbent or challenger, state why you'd like to be elected to the school board and why the community should entrust you with this position. It's simple. I want to be elected because I want to make a difference in my community, and I want to help change the course of South Carolina in our nation, and we do that through the local schools. Of all candidates running in Area 8, I believe I'm the only one with the right qualities to affect change, and those are strict principles, resolve, energy, common sense, and toughness. And I think the last two are significantly lacking. We can have all the right answers and all the right programs, but if we don't stick to our guns when it matters, when the votes matter, our platforms are useless. And we've seen that time and time again. Seemingly all the candidates running have similar ideas and solutions to correct the course for Sumter schools, but ideas will only get you so far. Execution, flexibility, and resolve and conviction matter. When tough decisions need to be made, most folks compromise on their principles. I am not built that way. This is not a way to do business. Compromise can be good when appropriate, but not regarding our principles and our values. The second part of that question is, I try to live by the maxim, and I heard this stated from a close friend of mine in the military, a good senior NCO. I live this way. I never heard it said this way, so I want to give him credit. He got it from his grandpa. He says, "Give me 1% of your trust, and I'll earn the other 99%." That is a matter of fact. This isn't, you voting is not a love letter. It's not it's not anything like that. It's you casting your vote in the hopes that the person lives up to their rhetoric, their stated opinions, and their stated principles. And all too often, and routinely, every 2 to 4 and 6 years, we get a whole lot of promises with a whole lot of lack of results, and that's just unacceptable. It's time to change course. I've spent 20 years in the Air Force living by that idea and earning a deep level of trust with my airmen, my peers, my leadership, and I believe I've done an excellent job at that. Throughout my career covering multiple deployments in war-torn parts of the country or the world, helping airmen contemplating self-harm by getting them the care they need, to the day-to-day application of discipline amongst the unit and the team I was assigned to. I believe I've been very successful earning a deep level of trust and respect to those from those I was fortunate enough to lead and to be led by. We need energy and passion along with deliberation, contemplation, and toughness. We know what doesn't work and we know what does. We have many examples and results of processes and programs that work. Elect us and let us make the hard calls and let us try something new. Our children and our Sumter families deserve it. They demand it. Next question. Hiring veterans and their spouses to teach without formal teaching credentials has been proposed as an answer to hiring teacher shortage in at least one state. Do you think there's a teacher shortage locally? Would you endorse a plan to hire veterans and their spouses? What minimum qualifications would you propose if this plan were adopted locally? This is a very good question, and it's very real. And Sumter is unique in its own way because of Shaw Air Force Base. I believe the answer to this question, we need to have an all hands on deck approach and a comprehensive plan to combat teacher shortages that exist and persist. In some ways, I believe that teacher shortage is self-inflicted, as one study shows recently that although pay and benefits and things like that were significant, many teachers were leaving the profession because the sense of the lack of support by their administration, particularly in the areas of lack of enforcement of discipline, burnout, and just overall and distrust that things will improve. The nail in the coffin was when teachers were forced into a virtual learning environment. And what this did is it removed the real draw to the profession, which is student interaction. The second part of that question is there is a teacher shortage locally. The exact numbers, that's debatable to some degree. And what I mean by that is a lot of these, I don't want to get too far into it. There is a teacher shortage, right? But I don't believe it's pronounced as other district. And one of the reasons is, like I said, Shaw Air Force Base, it's transient population. Many teachers within Sumter County School District are also military spouses. And so as the military members go, most oftentimes, so does the teacher. So does the family. And that's a double whammy because for two things, for many reasons, but for two particular reasons, is one, we're losing good people from the community overall, and secondarily, we're losing teachers from the district, good teachers. Military orders are created and force families to move quickly. We know that. If you've ever been associated with the military, you understand that when you get orders, it's pretty quick by the time you're packing up your household and you're leaving. So we'll continue to see this unless we make it a more attractive to keep those folks when they retire and separate. Sumter County is unique in this way. So in that sense, I would 100% endorse a program like that, depending on the particulars of the program, of course, to hire veterans and their spouses to fill a gap. I know many of them would right now, just as in many other areas. The servant heart of a Air Force veteran and a military veteran, it never stops, and so there's always a willingness to serve. You just have to gotta open the pathway up for them, and you build it, and they will come. And so I 100% endorse a program like that. Also, I know with particularly the Air Force, the Community College of the Air Force offers and requires teaching and certifications for military instructors who teach in military training environments and courses. And some, anecdotally, in my opinion, some of the best teachers I've ever had have been military instructors. As far as the qualifications, I believe that the minimum qualification should be an associate's degree in instruction, a background check, a mental health examination, which is already here. The South Carolina Teachers Preparation Program put the individual on a probationary term, and kept on and offered incentives and pay and benefits. when they successfully pass the probationary period and that certain quality standards are met. All right. Do you believe that some families moving into the area choosing to reside outside Sumter County due to their opinion about county schools? If yes, is this a perception, and how would you improve it? Well, I'll tell you firsthand knowledge. Absolutely. Ask any realtor in Sumter County. They're going to tell you where to go and where not to go, and it's all about the school districts. And it's so unfortunate because it does not have to be this way. Yes, the Sumter schools are a main factor as why many families are choosing to live out of county, living in specific school districts or putting their kids in private school. In my research, Sumter County has an abysmal record in ELA, math, and college-ready statistics. Public school, here's a good one for you. Public school enrollment has been stagnant at best and declining in some particular schools, while their private counterparts are increasing 2 to 4% year over year. Now, that's initial assessment. It's probably greater in some other schools. The problem with private schools is the data is not centralized like it is in public schools. So it's you really have to, unless there's a better way that I'm not aware of, you really have to go to individual schools, get the data, compile it, filter it down. But what the research I've done in the private schools, folks I've talked to, they are increasing 2 to 4% year over year, particularly since the COVID shutdowns. Now, how I would address these concerns would be simply being open and honest. And that's kind of a very vague answer, but nothing will get fixed unless we're willing to take a look at the complex and ugly facts as to why the schools are in the current state and condition they are in. I would start by looking at the budgets. I'd start by looking at where monies are allocated and balancing the highest priorities needs with the available financing or available funding. And that's just good management, good stewardship of funding. I would go line by line and look at the administration hierarchy and to see if those positions are necessary, and if not justified, reduce the administrative funding requirement burden on the budget and reallocate that money somewhere else, particularly in teacher hiring, teacher incentives, things like that, result-oriented incentives. And that's something we definitely need to look at. We need to incentivize our good teachers, remediate our failing teachers, and in some cases, unfortunately, let our failing teachers just go. And then we have some good ideas of how to fix that. We just need to get it on the books and get it into practice. I digress. I would work with the local charter, because here's the thing: there seems to be this idea of a split between like an us and them situation, between us being the public schools and them being the private schools. Well, why can't we build a relationship with these private schools and these parochial, these charter, private, alternative schools, like charter schools? Liberty STEAM is doing a fantastic job. They have some stuff going on that should be replicated, in my opinion, throughout the entire school district. And we can get into the weeds on that some other time. I don't want to make this video too long. But Liberty STEAM they have in my opinion, some benchmark practices that could be utilized and throughout the school district. That being said, I would work with these alternative schools. Those schools are less financially burdened per student, and I understand the state and the federal government puts demands on educational dollars in public schools that a lot of the private schools don't have to abide by. So things cost money. I totally understand that, but there are things where we could adopt practices. I would work with the State Department of Education superintendent to see how we can streamline and reduce legal requirements placed on local public school boards to free up funding. We need a comprehensive approach to this, an all hands on deck approach. One of the major issues in the public school system is that many parents are not involved in their children's education. Ask any teacher. Don't put a camera in their face, right? Because there's some self-preservation there. But ask them offline in a way. Ask them what their true thoughts are as to why children are failing, and it's predominantly teacher involvement, or I'm sorry, parent involvement. It's some kids come to school, and I've heard this from many of them. Some kids are coming into the second grade and third grade not knowing how to read, not knowing how to count to 50, right? Just basic things. And a lot of this, and it's not developmental issues and things like the special needs. It's literally parents not caring about the education of their children. How do we address that? Through the hierarchy and bureaucracy of public education. That's the $1,000,000 question, isn't it? One thing is for sure, we can't I think through strict, and I'm gonna go off a little off subject here, go through strict enforcement of standard behavior standards. That is both student, teacher, administrative, and school board. That's everybody. I would like to see kind of the great equalizer of, and this might scare some of you, but there are studies to prove this. I would like to explore and inquire about public school uniform wear. And the reason there is a lot of data out there to tell us that schools that adopt uniform wear, and we can talk about what the uniform looks like, what it is. It's not a locked in idea, but simply, is the cost worth is the cost worth the effort? And I think that it is, but that's something we should certainly talk about. You get less discipline issues typically. You get more child, sense of dignity, sense of belonging. You have, as a person who grew up in public schools and grew up in poverty, I'll tell you, every morning I woke up and put on my clothes for the day, I knew I was poor. And so that did something to me and my brothers and my sisters and all my friends who lived in that economic state. That did something to us, and it was very mentally and emotionally challenging, and it was very undignified. So I think the conversation needs to be had about uniforms for sure. Okay, I digress. One major issue I see with parents is within the public school system is parents not being involved in their children's education. It's probably the greatest hindrance to a child's academic success. I would like to implement, and I've seen Liberty do this, and don't quote me on it, and I'm probably going to butcher the program a little bit. Excuse me. But I believe the first week of school, they don't do any instruction as far as academic instruction. I believe it's all orientation type instruction. It's how to dress, how to act, how to respond to people, things like that. And I imagine with that boot camp style program, which should involve parents. If a school is being paid for by compulsory funding, taxpayer funding, then the taxpayer should get return on that investment. And that means if we have to make hard decisions to include to include the parents compulsory, then I think I'm okay with this. Or the alternative is open school choice, wide open, and let people take their kids to whatever schools that it's best suited for their family's needs. So one or the other. And since we can't have wide open school choice, I elect for the understanding that we need to build relationships between the parent and child, the parent and teacher, the teacher and child, that sort of thing. I think that we do that. We build those connections, we build those relationships, and we get the best results possible. I like to foster those relationships. I know it won't fix everything, but I do believe that it would have a marked impact on student success. and parent involvement. I'd also like to, again, I would like to explore mandatory uniform wear because all the studies prove that it's very, very helpful. And the last question is, do you think local schools, local public education is appropriately funded, and why? So I do believe that in a general sense, in looking at the data, yes, Sumter County is not, it has a lower per student cost than some other schools, but it has higher than others. I can't remember the exact statistic, but based on the trajectory of funding, the trajectory of the growth of the bureaucracy of education, and the trajectory and growth of student enrollment, it's very mismatched, and I'll explain that in a second. So I believe in a general sense that funding is adequate, but I do think it's probably likely very misappropriated. We're going back to the idea of a bloated bureaucracy. Since 2000, public school administration has grown 88% across the state. That 88% across the state for school district administration. Principals and assistant principals have risen 37%, all while student enrollment across the state has increased only by 8%. That's over 20 years, 22 years now. We have a bloated bureaucracy problem. All indications and signs point at that. Maybe we got to look at all these positions and justify each and every one. We free up money and we reappropriate it to where it's really needed: teachers, teacher pay, things like that. We can incentivize teachers to come back to the profession and to recruit new ones. But pay isn't everything. We've got to create an environment of where teachers are respected and their voices are heard. And from what I'm seeing, and as I talk to people across the district, I'm hearing that a lot of teachers, they're silenced. They've been silenced, particularly conservative. And I'm not trying to bring politics into this. I'm simply saying conservative teachers with conservative traditional values are the ones that are silenced, and the rest feel they have a license to talk about any darn thing they want. Well, I have a problem with that. If we're gonna, it's either one or the other. Either we maintain a level of professionalism in the classroom, or it's freedom of speech with no limitations. What's our choice? I prefer professionalism and limits on behavior and limits of political opinions and that sort of thing, because we'll get into this, because I do believe that it's harmful. It's those sort of discussions and conversations and topics are not appropriate at every age level. They're just not. And in fact, they're not appropriate at most K through 12 age groups. It's just college, I understand, but that's not what K-12 is designed to do. So to finish the thought, not to say that more fund, I do think that funding is, in a general sense, I do believe it's adequate. I think it's misappropriated again. Not to say that we can't address funding shortages and make decisions on justifiable and justified reasons. But I don't think, looking at the trajectory and looking at the graphs and the charts that show us growth, show us student results, all these things, I don't think we're getting anywhere near the results we need to justify more funding. And if anybody on the board keeps saying, 3% more on a $150 million budget, that's going to fix everything. Well, I got a bridge to sell you in Arizona, okay? I got waterfront, beachfront property in Ohio, okay, to sell you. It's money. Throwing money at a problem is just simply what bureaucrats do. It traditionally does not work. All it does is create more bloated bureaucracy. And what we're trying to do is streamline the process, make every dollar count, be good stewards of those funding, and make sure that Sumter families and Sumter taxpayers are getting the return on their investment that they expect. What I'm afraid of, and I'm just going to go a little off script here, what I'm afraid of is Sumter County schools have been failing for so long across the board that there is a kind of a paralysis or a just an apathy to it, where people are putting their children in private schools and just shrugging their shoulders and saying, well, it's just the way it is. It does not have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. I am of the mind where I think with the right processes, the right innovative thinking, the right people, and making hard decisions that may be uncomfortable, I think that we can get our public schools to be able to compete statistically and as results oriented with our private counterparts. I truly believe that. But there are a lot of people who are very short-sighted on these issues and these solutions. And all we're doing is repackaging old talking points and old bumper sticker slogans and trying to resell it to the public. And I am just sick of that. And I know you are too. So, in this 25-minute video, one last thing, and I didn't make the point. Public school enrollment, the administration growth has been 88%, while public school enrollment for students have been 8%. Think about that. 88 versus 8. That is, maybe they're necessary. Vote for us. Vote for conservative, hard charging, tough conservatives majorities, and let us look at it. Let us look at line by line the budget, the positions, and let us justify and let us make the call. Let's be open and transparent about it. Let the public have a say, and let's fix this thing. I believe Sumter County and our schools, and I think it's a direct line from our schools. I think Sumter County, and I've said this for years, I think the city of Sumter and Sumter County will be a premier city and a premier county in South Carolina in the next 20 years, and that has a lot to do with the county and the economic. I can't remember what exactly called the economic council, the county council itself, the city council, the mayor. Mayor Merchant is a rock star. I mean, all these people are proof that Sumterites want change, and for some reason, our school system continues to lag. And so with that being said, it's now time. There's never been a better time. There's more sentiment. There's more energy behind the school boards now for to vote in real change agents now than there probably has ever been in my lifetime. And I think we need to strike while the iron's hot and let us try something new. Let us get the Sumter schools back on course. Let us build a relationship and earn the trust of the public again. Let's create an environment where teachers can be safe and do what they do best, and children can learn, and we can build a foundation of education for them, so when they're of age, they can go out into the workforce and actually barter their education against the free market and the industry, so they can actually earn a very good living wage, and they can provide for their families and contribute to society. I'm telling you, we can do it, guys. We've got to be tough, and we've got to ask hard questions, and we've got to dig. So 28 minutes, 29-minute video now. Vote for Jeff Zell. Vote for Sherry Smith, Robbie Robinson, Daniel Palumbo. Let's get conservative majorities on the board and let us get to work. God bless you. God bless South Carolina, and God bless America.